Hello and welcome. My name is Michael.
I'm Zana.
And together we're here to share with you something we're very passionate about, something we're very motivated about in terms of the realm of creativity and design. So this is the first in a series of sharings that we will do together, and the theme for today is bioarchitecture. And we will, in each of these episodes, each of these sharings, explore other aspects of co-creation, other aspects of how we design and create our world together. And so you're very welcome, and we're very happy to be here with you. And let's begin.
We were thinking about it, how we can catch your interest about this theme, about creation with the nature. And as we spoke about it, we just found that we all were interested on the form which nature is expressing around us. As a children, we just ran away and were fascinated about every bug or plant or stone. We were playing and looking at things with totally fresh eyes, and the beauty which was coming from this was the source of joy. And this is what we want to speak about to you, to find this point and to come with us to this point of joy, to this pure view of world around us, and how to apply it in our own environment.
Absolutely, and this shared passion was what brought us together and gave us the impulse to explore how we might co-create in this area.
But you know what? You should speak about the bioarchitecture as an expression, how it came, because
for sure.
If I'm honest, everything today is bio, like bio food, bio toilet paper, bio
compost, everything.
Everything is but why bioarchitecture?
As you know, bio refers to life, and when it first started being used as a word, as we started to formulate it and use it within the context of architecture and design, the two just came together. Bio and architecture. How can we create an environment that allows life to breathe or supports life to explore and express its full potential? How can we take the inspiration from nature, from flowers, plants, stars, everything around us, and integrate that into a protocol, into a design approach, into an understanding of how we can best take the materiality of life and all the substances, structures and components to make a building where we would recognize ourselves, where we would be able to breathe and be most alive and most vibrant and most able to express our full potential. So bioarchitecture, if you were to do a search on it, many of the things that come back are more about the architecture of bio, the architecture of life. So there's lots of scientific and academic uses of this word in molecular biology, for example. But we're exclusively focusing on the application in architecture and design. So decades ago, 35 years ago, when the opportunity was with us to create and design structures, and the learning that was necessary, or actually more accurately the remembering of what was true and pure principle and fundamental, it came through the study of nature, came through the study of information from people who were in turn studying nature. And that journey allowed for the application of the principles of living systems to be applied meaningfully to the design and structuring of our homes, of our spaces of connection and gathering. So bioarchitecture became an expression, of course, and as a bioarchitect became used nomenclature to describe the art and the science of designing spaces which will give your system, your biological system, your consciousness, your whole being a chance to relax, breathe, move naturally, and feel at home. Of course, there is nothing more home-based than our physical body, but insofar as that we need to create structures to house that body, we can take the principles of the living systems and extend out so that there's a comfort and there is a perception of naturalness, of beauty, as the beautiful butterfly just jumped past there, just flew past us. So, historically, we use the word to describe a tool of design, an approach to design, a protocol of integrating various aspects of nature, for example, shape, form, movement, proportion, and to integrate those into a system, a tool for optimizing the flow, the function, the form of any space. And that was so exciting, as you might imagine. This was an opportunity for every project and every client to dive directly into what this might mean for them as individuals, as couples, as a family, as a collective. And the beauty is that, well, the beauty is, but with hundreds of projects in many different environments, and the feedback that came from that, we have been able to take it to the next level. And that's what this is about. So today we're speaking about bioarchitecture and its principles and the essence of what it means. But for you now to know that this is a singular component that feeds into a much more inclusive approach to manifestation, to design.
And also bioarchitecture is like a compilation of more approaches where secret geometry has a place as a special patterning of the nature, but from this higher perspective, because we can take every leaf of the plants and take it apart and see the secret geometry in it, but as a whole, the bio is much more hugging this plant as if we would speak about secret geometry architecture. Oh yeah. It's a beautiful example of a leaf which is perfectly spiraled in a secret way.
So you can see in this pattern we've got this spiral. It's a Fibonacci spiral on both sides and many different fractal components that bring the focus there you go, that bring the focus of light and water and even the movement of supporting animals and bugs to bring, for example, a point of visual and structural harmony and focus down the stem to the base and so on. So literally this is a solar panel that optimizes the processes of life into a shape and form that structurally, this is the essence of bioarchitecture, minimal use of materials with optimal exposure to the source of energy and information in the environment, elegance, simplicity, a complexity that comes from simplicity, and a beautiful functionality that never for one moment imagines anything but how can this be done beautifully. So you can certainly take this and do a mathematical analysis of it, and this of course could make a beautiful roof of a building. This could of course be imagined as an entire structure in and of itself. So you've got a structural support. So this is a point of inspiration that would have fueled our passion for structure. Makes a good hat on a wet day as well. And you know, we've got the same principles at work here with the seashell, that a living organism use this as their bioarchitectural home. This was a home of a living entity, and it was able to coalesce and bring to itself calcium and other raw materials from its living environment and form it into the perfect enclosure for its entire biology, its entire reason to be. And these shells, for example, did the same thing. The spiral that you see forming the nexus of the living entity within it. So this is the essence of something that really touched us deeply and allowed us to take the big step to the next level with bioarchitecture, with holistic design. So
this form is functioning. We know that it's functioning everywhere around us. So why we would not to take this beautiful example around us and apply it in structures and forms which we are creating? This is the question which we ask every our client, everybody who is in contact with us. Why we would go in a structure as a cubic or rectilinear box if we know that these beautiful forms in nature have better recipe. Mm-hmm. There is a pattern which is functioning much more sustainable as boxes. So that's the bioarchitecture.
Yeah.
Just to take the beautiful example, which is followed with function.
So it's well known in architecture circles that one of the main understandings of what we design and build was based on this very rudimentary principle that form follows the function. Mm-hmm. And this was a major theme in the last century with architecture, when buildings were imagined to be living machines that you live in and live with. So that there was an honesty in that and a simplicity, that all the systems to create a living environment were exposed and simplified, and the function of each of those systems together gave form to the building. So as a result, there was mass industrialization of materials, there was mass formulation of what was necessary to create this. So boxes were the result, because boxes were imagined as the most efficient form, the most simple form, and so on. And we've all grown up inheriting that belief that a box is what a room is. A box is what you live in. It might be a pretty box, but it's still a box. So bioarchitecture dares to challenge that basic assumption, and also provably shows that to build something out of the unboxy, you need to think outside the box, quite literally. By thinking outside the box, you start to open, okay, if nature does something so efficiently and simply, and the structural, for example, the egg.
Yeah, but this is the roof of the egg.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
for that, they're beautiful. So when you take an egg and you try and push down on it, it's very difficult to actually break an egg in this direction. You can break an egg on the side, no problem, as we do when you have your breakfast. But down here, why is that? It's because an egg is beautifully shaped and formed to optimize not just the informational field that is the living entity within it is utilizing and generating, but it's actually the shape of this means that any pressure from above gets distributed perfectly along the geometry. If this was a building, what that means is that the wall, which in this case is a wall and a roof, that needs minimal materiality to stay strong. That any pressure from above, the roof tiles, snow, some sort of pressure, gets naturally distributed along these lines. If this was a rectilinear building with a roof over the top of it, like so, then you've got a pressure, you need something to hold the roof from falling apart, the walls have their own dead weight, and the wind loads, etc. So in this case, bioarchitecture shows us that when we follow the patterns of nature, we end up building more efficiently than most people think. And this is where thinking outside the box becomes really necessary. And it was one of our wonderful master builders who did so many of the projects. And without any context beyond his own innate sense of what was possible, he said, in order to bend a wall, you must first bend your mind. And he was so true with that. It was so correct to think this way, because we need to change how we think about space and how we think about structure in space. So bioarchitecture allowed us to study and be inspired by nature, and open to formulate how those principal shapes, proportions and forms could possibly be used affordably and functionally and beautifully, so that there was no waste of space, no waste of materiality. And in those spaces we discovered something amazing, huge, and it will be explored again in more depth. But basically, bioarchitecture provides an experience, an experiential structure within which and towards which we as biology can interact. We can interact with this rock we're sitting on, with the clothes we're wearing, with what we hold in our hands, and a building is the same. So there is a desire to interact with something beautiful. So in this case, how would you experience holding this in terms of your sensory appreciation for it?
Yeah, for me it was always through a vehicle which I call beauty, which was speaking to me, which was touching my attention, which was calling me and interacting with me. So the beauty.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in the same way we've been conditioned into thinking that we must live in boxes, and if you can afford one, it can be pretty. The same idea we were told that beauty is somehow only in the eye of the beholder. Of course, in that original expression, it meant that everyone has an opinion about beauty and everyone's welcome and deserves their own opinion. But that removed beauty from being this force of transformation. It removed beauty from a direct sensory appreciation of the very state of being, pure beingness. It took it into the realm of some sort of aesthetic component that if you had enough money and time you could add later to a functional structure.
And also people started to call beauty what was just formed through influence.
Yeah, like socially accepted
formations
collective agreements.
were trying to get this attribute, which is not the same what we are speaking about.
No.
What we see as a beauty is a code which we have inside.
Everybody
naturally
has. Yes.
And this code is informing us if we feel good in interaction with something. And this is what scientists call Neuro-Asthethic.
Yes.
This is describing actually the real beauty which we can recognize.
Which is the neurophysiological response to perceiving something well proportioned, well formed, well lit, something in nature, something natural, something that we see and feel in our environment. And that beautiful study, we'll go into that again in a further talk. So what we have is that beauty, far more than just being an affectation, the reserve of those who have the time and space and resources to apply it, is a fundamental component. So no longer would we adhere to the concept that if you build something in a shape, it'll magically have some field of effect. This is all about how our senses, as natural extensions of our existence, of our being, of the very fact that we're in materiality, processing the world through us, generating the world through us, that bioarchitecture is in resonance with that natural perceptive algorithm of life itself. So bioarchitecture seeks and achieves, to various levels of success and of course failure, an experiential interaction with materiality. All of it the result of consciousness, but in terms of our enjoyment and physiological sensory interaction, beauty is what makes us feel most alive, most connected, most awakened in each moment. And if our attention is naturally massaged to receive beauty in our environment, we realize that that beauty in our environment is ultimately ourselves reflecting back. And then we've got the possibility that when we build these structures, this natural state is possible. This natural capacity that all living beings have to enjoy and enliven our built environment. And it's very exciting. And there was one realization that fueled all of this, was that there was a structure that we were involved in, and for one reason or another it is no longer being inhabited. And this structure was absolutely designed according to the principles of bioarchitecture. Its materiality, its shape, its form, its orientation, the tuning, the fractality of its individual rooms, spaces, components. Everything on paper absolutely supremely and sublimely perfect in terms of these principles. And as it's now not being used by life, not being used by consciousness in what we would mean by that, the building has basically reverted to a compilation of materials with no special property, with no special energy field, or
which is atrophying.
Atrophying is a wonderful word to describe. So it doesn't mean it's beyond reactivation. It just means that right now the principle is, and this isn't just about this building, this is showing us the core, the bioarchitecture only becomes meaningful as the bio is evident. Inhabiting it, appreciating it, observing it, connecting with it. And the architecture is just that, just a technical compilation of materials, whether it's in an arch or not. It's basically an enclosure, a manufactured enclosure with no particular special qualities.
Yeah, and there we can bridge to the next approach, which you can discover also in detail. This is Biocentrism, which is speaking exactly about this, that when consciousness, or when we as a human are not observing, appreciating, interacting with something, what is not alive, because
a physical building is a compilation of materials.
We speak about compilation of material. Then does it exist?
It's, on the surface, this may seem like a unuseful or unpractical philosophical position, but as we'll display and hope to translate and share to you, is that it's far more than that. It's fundamental to the very essence of our existence, our entire state of being, that we are creating all of this. Very beautiful theme, but when we bring it back to bioarchitecture, we realize that as a tool, it is fantastic. As a protocol for design, it's second to none. As a wave or vehicle for us to become more aware of how beauty can become manifest in our structures and in our creations, it's a fantastic tool. It is, in essence, an art by way of connecting with intuition and inspiration, and it's a science because it's about mathematics and proportion and geometry and living systems coming together in an integral, functional, sustainable way. So it is an art and science that we wish to share with you and open up your interest. So
yeah, when we take the tools, these are like parts of something much bigger. And as we spoke about the geometry and mathematic patterns, which are coming together and explaining us the complex creation, then we apply fractality on this pattern, and we got more and more complex forms. So the matryoshka this is the last?
No, keep going. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
One more.
You ready?
Oh my God. So,
as above, so below. This is a Father Ted moment, okay? So this principle, I can't think. I know. This principle of fractality, which is evident at every scale, hence the idea of fractality, is evident at every scale of nature, from the very small to the very large, and all of this becomes compressible into one flow of energy and information, of attention, of biological focus. And fractality is the key to bioarchitecture, because contained within all of the geometries, the toroidal field as well, yeah, that the centering force of in the middle of a toroidal field, this is where energy and information can come into focus through biological awareness, through the capacity of living systems to know how to navigate into the center of materiality. And bioarchitecture takes that capacity of living beings and dives in, finds its core, and then opens up and expresses form through this center of focus, expresses materiality, expresses structures that life is happy to call comfortable, is happy to call beautiful, is happy to call home. Yeah, I was mesmerized here by the...
We wish to be practical. So how this all to apply in your environment? Recently we were amazed about how easy architects and creative people are falling into the box mentality because it's normal, or because
they don't know anything else.
We don't know why, but the creativity is boxed in a one and the same formation, and all what is happening us is that the consciousness is then reacting with this and atrophying with it also. So we wish you practically show how we take form and apply it in a living space which somebody can inhabit and fulfill. Yeah. So we take a eye as the first.
Yes, we have the egg geometry, which is so simple and so beautiful.
And connected with, because this is also like an egg form, yeah, but it's fascinating movement, and there is this fractal component which is turning around the center and in a spirals, in
counter-rotating spiralic pathways. The seeds naturally arrange themselves in this fractal pattern.
And then imagine, how would it be to live in such a space?
How would it be to imagine the materiality of the structure around you to be naturally holding on to these shapes and forms and expressing as a structured environment, as a home, as a space to enjoy living. So this is a study model with the help of a wonderful friend we put together for a structure that we are working on. And in here we have the essence of the egg geometry, and we have explored how these counter-rotating fields might express not just in the component design, but in the spatial design contained within. So it's very much rooted in practicality, even though it looks like something that just landed from outer space or another dimension. So contained within this is a natural movement that follows the path of the sun, for example, that allows for the integration of the elements of shade and light and heat in the environment where this will be. And all of these come together as not as a definitive example of the principles, but as an example of what works in this case, taking as tools and protocol the essence and energy and information of bioarchitecture and applying it to a specific situation, to a specific case, with specific inhabitants and specific land. And then we're totally and immediately outside the realm of reproduction, outside the realm of assumption, outside the realm of thinking, we need to have a kitchen that's a straight line here and a line of glass because it's cheaper, and all of these limiting consciousnesses that are based only on assumptions that we have proven and know not to be true. So certainly even just a surface level glance through the designs that we have done on the website, we can link to all of that, you'll see that there is literally no limit to how these principles can be applied. There is a limit to how they're not being applied, meaning that you see one box, you see them all. You see one modern contemporary rectilinear form and you might get something moved a little bit, but in essence it's the same. Now it's important to say that this is not a judgment on that style of architecture. It's not an indictment of those that practice it or express it as an extension of who they are.
There is no one form better than another.
Exactly.
It's just about the richness which is around us, about possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
We have technologies, we have possibilities which never were here and are still not using it fully.
Yeah.
And these things are not more difficult to build.
Mm-hmm.
It's just here in the head, because we were by hundreds of these constructions, and you would have more experience with the constructions as I. In fact, in many cases it was easier, less material, more sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
So the maintenance was much less. So it's just a very little step to open ourselves to these beautiful forms.
And it's an exciting adventure. That's really what we're seeking to impart to you today, this sense of excitement of what's possible, because we know what's possible. We've done it and we continue to do it. We know what's available by way of beautiful materials, visualization technologies, and a whole new wave of people that are asking the same questions we asked ourselves, that are asking, how can I make this more beautiful? So it's over to you. I mean, if you enjoy this, please share it and join us for the next installment, the next subject. So we will be continuing to go a little deeper, and the beauty of this sharing is that we will dip back and touch this in further talks. So as we explore biocentrism, Neuro-Asthethic, sacred geometry, and many of the other aspects and components that form the foundation of holism and holistic design, you'll be building up a picture of how they can all work together, building up a picture of how each play a role in our understanding and appreciation and our skill at applying them to create more beauty in the world.
Oh, I have an idea for you guys to get this passion which we have, just to imagine something what you really like in the nature. If it's some flower or a stone or a piece of wood
or a river
or the formation of some hill, take this form, your really favorite piece of nature, and imagine how would it be if your house would involve this form.
It doesn't get more simple and more profound than that. What's speaking to you and how it touches you, and dare to imagine how it could take the shape of a home.
And
a
from
space.
there's just a step to realize it.
Yeah.
Just a little step.
Yeah. So, without knowing she was going to say that, I just picked up this stone. The from Angelica's room. Yeah, this guy. Yeah. Gorgeous geometry, you know. This is, I know I'm very good at pushing symbolism beyond the point of realism, but this is this shape just picked up very, very close to this shape here, known as a chestahedron. Amazing properties in this, geometrically and mathematically. But you can imagine, could that be a home? Could that be a gathering space? Could it be a place, a temple? And what was inspired by me picking up this? It's the same shape. You can zoom out and see it. It's the same. So all around us, consciousness is everything. So all around us, consciousness is knocking on the door of perception. Consciousness is opening the windows of perception, and it's continuously speaking to us about what's possible. That's why life exists, to speak and share what's possible. And all around us, there is guidance, there is information. So even though you're watching this probably on YouTube or Vimeo or something, the answers are not all there. The answers are all around us, within us. And as this guy just lands, and interpenetrating.
The answers are within us.
Yes.
We just react when we are coherent with the answer in us is coherent with something what we see.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the answers are there.
And they're ready to be
Inside.
applied. The answers are ready to be applied. And each of you and every one of you has the exact same capacity to manifest this in your own life. Because fractality means very small and very big, doesn't matter. You get coherence at one level and it becomes coherence at all levels. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
thank
you.
you, thank you. Thank us. Thank this beautiful day, this environment, the sea, the butterflies, and this really cool green lizard that basically
whole
set the
time
scene.
with us here.
Next time we're hoping he'll operate the camera, so we'll see how we can do with that. So thank you for this exploration, this opening. Our next videos will be a little shorter and more focused. So
Share
you're very
us.
welcome. Please share and
It's
connect
important.
soon. In this time especially, it's important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.